record, and let me share the browser. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see here. Here we go. Okay, welcome everyone to the August 25th iteration of the MicroProfile Live Hangout. This is the working group edition. The meeting, a link to the meeting minutes, the meeting minutes is in the chat. Please click on the link and add your name as a meeting contributor. And organization is optional. And let's see here. It is everyone's shared responsibility to take notes. So please, everyone, help out. And I think with that, let's take a look at the agenda. All right, and sorry, I'm gonna pull up the chat here so I can have it up while the call's going. All right, enthusiasm around pasting the link to the chat. Okay. Working group, so Amelia, I saw you added quite a bit. I'm gonna make a friendly request to not paste images because we're already at we're already at 192 pages. So I think at the start of the new calendar year, what I'm going to do is start a new doc, just as an FYI.
So. No, we should start a new doc when the working group is created. You know, when we have the working group, we need two docs. One for the public, one for the community calls that will continue to happen every 2 weeks, a month, and then one for the working group that we'll meet formally because we need 2 minutes. So that would be great.
It's still 192 pages, right?
I know.
Already. So, yeah, and I don't want to get into too much detail into that right now, but so I just saw that you posted some images, and these are just going to add up over time. So just a request to maybe paste links instead of images.
Okay, we'll do it. But John,
yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, I will do that. But some images cannot be there because there are comments. They will be resolved. So there will be no tracing later.
Okay, so Vince, was this addressed last week? I think we addressed this last week.
Hang on, I got to move my camera.
Yes,
it was addressed.
All right.
And yeah, it was addressed. And what Paul said is that we sign the agreements, and then you do not have to. Organizations will be invoiced at that point. But that does not, at that point, once the agreements are signed, whether the invoices are paid or not, they have full voting rights.
Yep. And all right, so let's okay, issue closed. I'll put that down. So let's not copy that next week. Okay, Amelia. Okay, so first of all, this is the status slides. They haven't changed. We don't really need to talk about it. I don't think. I'd like to focus a majority of this meeting, if not all of this meeting, on the charter. So maybe I'm just going to cut over to the charter then.
John, I have one request.
Yeah.
For the life cycle, please add one slide from legal because there are legal documents, and we need to add one slide that says the legal contracts that every working group needs to go through. So just say legal documents, and then that would be super nice because the life cycle includes legal, and it's not included at the moment. So
I thought I had one of them in one of them, but it doesn't matter. Just add an action item for me, and I'll go take a look at it.
Yeah, I will do that, but I forgot. It's just such a week.
No, that's all right.
I will send you the issue.
So let's take a look at that's the marketing, planning draft. No, that's different. Oh, come on. Don't tell me.
Just go to the charter.
That's what I'm trying to do. For some reason, I don't know if I got logged out. Let's see here. I know I can just do this. Sure.
Just let's go to the charter and then.
I just posted the link in chat.
I appreciate that, Vincent. All right. It is loading here for me. So the Eclipse Foundation, specifically, Paul and Sharon went through the working group charter. Mike Milinkovich did as well. I went through it. I just fixed the minor issues, like either a spelling or spell out the word instead of the acronym. And I just applied all those. Anything else I left for everyone else to view so that we can go through this. So let's see if we can kind of go through these items. So Paul added in a way that is consistent. The Eclipse Foundation trademark guideline. Yeah. So if let's see, that's going to replace this with the Eclipse Foundation trademark guideline. I think that's okay.
Right.
All right, I'm going to accept the suggestion. Michael, who's on the call, I think. Okay. Let's see. Leveraging Eclipse defined licensing and intellectual property flows. I don't see a problem with this. Anyone?
It should probably be Eclipse Foundation defined licensing.
Yeah, this is Sharon Corbett, right? She's
Yeah, no.
legal.
I do understand, but just to differentiate Eclipse versus Eclipse Foundation.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree. Or I think technically it's probably that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, look okay?
So it looks good.
All right. Boy, I hope the whole thing is like this. I just have my doubts.
It won't be
Okay.
like this. So, okay, you're
Okay. The next one, add applicable documents, the Eclipse Foundation trademark usage guidelines. I don't see a problem with that.
It's fine. And we just referenced it, so it should be there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Or Eclipse working group process. I think maybe we copied this and pasted this and somehow industry got stuck in there from the industry working group. So, okay. I think that's okay.
Oh, John,
Yes.
I don't know if you care, but you seem to be logged in with a MicroProfile ID instead of.
I do care, actually.
Don't do this. And I always call you out. Why?
It's
do
not
you do this?
intentional. It's not
I
intentional.
know. And Kevin, you totally are awesome. I have been calling him out on this so many times.
Well, the problem is when it defaults to that because I create the document with the MicroProfile ID, and I'm still logged in, and I just sometimes forget to
Check.
Check because the chat window is actually covering my icon, so I didn't even see it on my desktop. All right, sorry, I got ahead of myself there. Thank you very much. Thanks, Kevin, for ratting me out. Okay.
Anytime. How's that?
Sorry, no, I lost my place too. Here we go. All right. This one is interesting because it's add a URL. Oh, this one's okay. To the membership types, I think that's okay.
We added it later, but it's nice that she added it before.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. And this one is kind of weird because it says replace the link with the same link and add the same link. So it's really weird. I was thinking maybe there's a space or something in there. I don't see it.
Doesn't matter. It's fine.
I'm going to apply it anyway. I think that's okay. All right, let's keep going.
She probably just put it
Yes.
in there twice by mistake.
I think so, yeah. See my input to composition. All right, so we'll leave this one here because this is something that's still being worked out, so we'll leave that. This line item will be removed. So review and approve the participation agreement. It's being removed from all working group charters. The agreement is not subject to approval of any committee or of a working group. Right. This is probably, it's from the Eclipse Foundation. They create the participation agreements. So we can always review them, but we definitely don't approve them.
Well, originally though, weren't we thinking, I mean, I know that we got past this point, but I thought that we were thinking that there might be a separate participation agreement. And so that's why we put it in there. But then we determined that we didn't need a separate one.
Okay.
So I mean, I'm still fine with getting rid of it, but I'm just trying to explain why it was there in the first place.
Wait a minute. We determined we don't need a separate one. Can you back up and cover that sentence?
But wouldn't the Eclipse Foundation one supersede it anyway?
Right.
If we had one?
Well, no, the participation agreements are defined by, you know, basically it's between the working group and the Eclipse Foundation. And so I think at one time we thought that we needed a separate one for MicroProfile, but then it was determined that nope, the general participation agreement that was defined was sufficient, if my memory is correct on that.
Okay, so you are talking, we're confusing things here. Are we talking about the Eclipse membership agreement that is only handled by the Eclipse Foundation? Or are we referring to the participants agreement created by MicroProfile? Because this group, gets to dictate how we will operate within our community. I'm confused, very confused. What are we talking about?
Yeah, that's fair, Amelia, because it is, this particular line is on the participation agreement. And, you know, she's indicating to pull that out, but if we go back up to the paragraph right underneath membership, we, yep, keep going. It's up by our, you know, the list of documents.
Here
Yeah,
we go.
right there. That first paragraph under membership says that, you know, our members have executed the MicroProfile participation agreement once it's defined.
Yes. So then,
okay.
I think what that bullet is saying is that there will be a MicroProfile participation agreement. We just don't get any ability to approve it.
I think that is incorrect. I think
which is a little bit odd, but
no. I think Sharon refers to the Eclipse Foundation the Eclipse Foundation membership agreement that is between the Eclipse and any org, right? Like we have, Elastic already signed it. Atlanta has said yes, they are joining, so they have to sign it. And when Sharon sees this, I think she's talking about that one. We need to follow up in here and say we are talking about the MicroProfile working group participation agreement. We were not specific, so we need to make it specific, because it's not okay for us to choose to be forced into a working group where we don't get to dictate our rules of engagement. How is that fair?
Okay.
So,
all right. Someone, I think
me.
there's a couple other people.
I'm putting a reply into that. If
Okay.
yeah, we just need to clarify what agreement.
Yep.
The agreement.
Yeah, thanks for calling that out, Amelia.
Right. The other thing is, do we have a MicroProfile participation agreement? Where was it defined?
That's something that the working group defines once we have established the working group.
Right. Okay. I'll come later. Okay. Thanks.
So that also ties, so I think both of these comments apply to the same thing. Oh, there you go. So, all right, so we're gonna leave that. We're not gonna delete it. Okay, let's go through, define and approve the budget. Okay. I guess so. There we go. Define with approve. Define and approve the budget fees.
So
All
she
class of
took
working group,
away,
sorry.
so Sharon took away the define, but actually we dictate the working group fees, aside from the 15% that we need to pay to the Eclipse Foundation a year, plus legal. And Paul still needs to answer if we need to pay for the specification trainer. We don't need it because we have been doing releases for the last 4 years. So I have asked 2 questions that have not been answered. But this, we define and we approve. It's not like only approve. Who defines it if it's not here?
So I only, let's see here, sorry. I don't want to resolve it. I want to reopen it. Does anyone know how to actually have that show up again? It's marked, I did resolve it, but I want to reopen it. Where's the reopen? Do I just reply and it'll reopen?
Yes, you need to start up typing and it will reopen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Question from the community. Doesn't the working group members fine. Now I lost track of where it is too on the screen. And okay, there it is. Wait, no.
Review and approve this charter. Yeah, it should be define, review, and I mean, like that's like literally the one thing we're supposed to do.
Exactly. So we cannot be like just we approve. No, we don't get to be told what to do. We get to place the rules on engagement of our community. This is why it has taken us 9 months to get here, because we're trying to protect MicroProfile for not becoming a vacuum of nothingness.
Okay. So let's try that. Did that add it back in?
And thank you, John.
It didn't add it back in. Sorry, I just want the darn thing to show back up again. I didn't mean to resolve. Well, I only resolved it to understand the edit. I thought I could just bring it back up again. Anyone? Because I cannot figure out how to
Just
actually.
Just start a new comment, maybe.
Yeah.
Put the edit in, define and review, and then tag Sharon in put a comment on your own.
So here we go. Define.
Up.
Well, we left. Oh, that's the other one. That's the wrong one.
One more up.
Yeah, there we go. Thanks.
Yes.
Sorry.
You're amazing. You have the patience. Like,
all right. No, you guys got the patience. I'm the one screwing it up. Okay, define and review should be within the scope of the working group reviewing.
If you can mention her in the comment.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. Correct. You had replaced define with review. Now it goes to find the email address.
you can do at and write her name and it will come up, because we have just like at and then write. Let me
Yeah, that's the problem I'm having.
That's just, oh, it's Sharon. It's entire name.
I'll add it. Just complete the comment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're going to reply with an FYI. Okay. Let's say Sharon defining. Okay, comment. Thank you.
Yep.
I think maybe it's because I'm logged in under my personal account, not my work account. I don't know. Okay, so we got that one. Sorry, I had lost complete place before. Okay. Add committer reps. The committer reps are elected by the Eclipse MicroProfile project committers themselves, an election process they agree to, which is not controlled by the MicroProfile working group. So this gets back to, I think what Paul is saying is that if I read this correctly, and this thread also extended into the Google group, is that proxy votes are no longer an option. Is that, did
Yeah,
everyone
correct.
review that as similarly?
Can somebody
Yeah.
else go? Can someone else go on this?
So basically, Paul wrote back because Amelia comment is said this is inconsistent. What is comment here with his comment replying my email, and then Paul replied my email again. He said that he overlooked the proxy vote, and then he said proxy vote is no longer valid. So basically, that's a summary.
Okay, so Emily, so this is great. Well, I would give me 30 seconds.
I never
David?
we get statements saying no, but they're often very short on any kind of explanation. What is the reasoning we can't do this?
He has a longer explanation. Go to the 138. Oh, John, can you go back? No, go back to the doc.
No.
He has a longer explanation here.
But
Yeah, it's the bottom of the screen. If you show more, if you show more on the poll,
Show more on the quote?
sorry.
Okay.
Show more on poll back. Sorry.
I did.
On the comment, go up one more.
Up.
Second pull back. Oh no. Yeah, the
Yeah,
bottom.
that one.
Yeah. Show more.
There it is. Sorry, I was looking.
Yeah.
So let me, while everyone catches up, give me 30 seconds. What I don't like, or what I find frustrating, is for the Eclipse Foundation to come up and say proxy is okay and committed is okay. Literally immediately after vacation, after the foundation vacation. And now, because we have written this on last week's call and we have chosen the proxy, the preference was for Eclipse for us to go to the proxy, because the Eclipse preference was for the MicroProfile to choose a committer, vote it in, and move on. But we had the choice as a community to choose the proxy. Because we chose what we decided from the two choices, now Eclipse comes and says, oh, but we're not okay with that. It's a no. So how is this not frustrating? And how is this consent or relevant to creating a working group and a safe environment where we can do what we think is best for us? I am extremely frustrated on this matter, so much so that when John sent the charter to the forum, I follow up and I added Paul to that message. And I expected him to provide this kind of follow-up in the Emily's thread, because it's disrespectful beyond the means to say that you have two choices and then suddenly, because we choose something that we think fits best, nope, you cannot do that because we don't like it or whatever. So
All right.
it's just,
Okay.
that's
Understood. Other comments?
Well, I guess I would say the downside of the election approach is it's not conducive to what we've been doing over the last 4 years. You know, we've gone for the last 4 years. The last 4 years, we've been a community-led initiative. Everyone has a vote and a voice. And if we think about how things would go over the next 4 years, if we take this election approach, what it basically means is, you know, we release one one major version a year, right? So 4.0 now, and in 4 years in the future, it's going to be MicroProfile 8.0.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if I said to you, Emily, in the next, from MicroProfile 4.0 to 8.0, you won't be able to vote on any specifications, and you will get 4 votes total, 4 opportunities to have a voice over the next 4 years from MicroProfile 4.0 to MicroProfile 8.0. You will have the ability to vote someone other than yourself to make decisions for the project. And there will be no obligation that they vote in any way to your will. And if you don't like...
David,
Okay.
I'd like to interrupt you there, because it's not true what you're saying as far as I understand it, because every committer the committers are the ones who votes to promote a specification. This is just the final rubber stamp from the spec committee.
It's not what we're doing on the Jakarta side of the fence. And and by the way, I did propose what you say, Ivar, as the first version of this. I proposed that there would be basically a committer vote, and then there would be a working group vote, and they would both have to pass. And that was shot down also.
So what the hell
Yeah,
are we doing here?
But
I mean,
from what I see is okay. Then you can have you not have the final vote on a specification, but you're 100% in control on what is in the specification. It is the committers who create the specification, to create the features, create the code. It's just the final IP approval for me that is just limited to a certain set of people, but that's not a major point if you ask me.
Well, the final rubber stamp isn't an IP approval, it's a spec approval, which includes IP, right? It can be vetoed for anything, right? For technical reasons, potentially. So it is more than I think just IP. But I understand where you're coming from. With the way, oh Jesus, sorry, all of a sudden my phone decided it was gonna answer me. I don't know if it was Bixby or Google, sorry. Anyway, so the approach that the Eclipse Foundation is, I think, promoting, if that's the right word, here, or recommending maybe, is basically the way all the other working groups do it, right? Your voice is voting in the committer member, right? And then it's up to that committer member over the next year, or whatever the election period is, to do, to do that, to vote the will of the community.
So
that's the recommendation, if I understand it.
So based on the 2 options that we have, I say decline the suggestions and let's go with what we wrote and worked for 40 minutes last call. It took us 40 minutes to write what is in front of us. So I say decline the deletions and put back what we have, because this protects MicroProfile.
I would say like this. I would say we need to understand the limitation, and also it should be within our purview to come up with solutions to achieve this goal that we'd like, right? And that may include some legal spend on our budget to come up with any documents or any changes, right? On the Jakarta side of the fence, for example, we discovered that there was a gap that didn't allow people to participate for free if they worked for a company that wasn't a member of the working group. It was something we discussed was, not the direction we wanted. It was absolutely 100% true. We did not have any legal documents that supported our will. So we had to go and then pay a lawyer to draft up a consent agreement so that we could get it accomplished, this thing that we wanted. So if our desire is that the community has the ability in some way to vote on a specification, and there is a legal gap that doesn't allow that, then we should be free to pursue what it is that we need to fix in order to address that gap. And that may result that we have to dedicate some of our budget to it. But again, we have a desire to operate our community in a certain way. And if that's not currently possible, then we should be having the discussion of what are the things that we need to do to make it possible, and are there changes that have to happen so that that could be done. And if there's a cost to us, then we pay the cost.
Well,
One.
okay, but so the other thing to be concerned with though is how long would that take? Now, I still agree we need to get an answer as to why our previous proposal was not acceptable. But if there is something, you know, in some charter, some agreement somewhere that is preventing this, then trying to go through the changes to make that workable, that's just going to push us out even further. I mean, I'm just wondering.
I don't say that we don't say that we need to gate the whole working group on that issue. It could be something that the working group is established.
Okay. Okay, good. I heard you wrong, David. Thanks.
Yeah, no, that's
a good one.
That's a good call out. I wouldn't want to keep pushing out what we're doing, but at the same token, it's always been the sort of, there has been a good spirit early in Jakarta that I think we need here as well, which was, well, let's focus on doing the right thing, even if what we have isn't allowing for it. And then we will make the agreements, we will fix things until we can do what we think is the right thing for the community.
Yep. Okay.
And if we get that flexibility here, that'd be great. We've come up with many ideas on how to do this. They've all been shot down, and we're literally at square zero again with these suggestions.
It's frustrating.
I don't think the matter is finished. I just think that means that we need to understand the gaps, and we need to be clear that we will want to address them, and that we understand that they may involve some spend if there's legal changes there.
So are there other thoughts? Anyone else have thoughts about the proxy vote approach versus a more representative approach that the Eclipse Foundation is recommending? No one?
I'm sorry.
I was wondering, because here in the charter, you just need to write down like the voting the committee, but for execution, like didn't have a small print saying the voter, the elected committee must be voice their own opinion. Is nothing stop us? I mean, add some like after this charter established, we said although you are voted in as a committee, however, if you vote, you need to consult the MicroProfile committee community.
That doesn't work.
It's not workable.
It's a nice idea, but it doesn't work. Like
I have a kind of a reflection, or aren't you overcomplicating a little bit? Because the way I think it is, if you have in the spec project, all the committers have a vote there as per the Eclipse development process. So you can define in an operational document that no spec gets promoted forward to a vote at the spec committee before there has been a committer vote. There's nothing stopping you there. But it doesn't need to be formalized in the charter. I think that's where the problem lies. And if you elect representatives on the committee to vote for as a committer vote, you can define how long term that is at your leisure. I mean, if a committer rep doesn't vote as the committer wants, then have some process in the operation document that makes them have a re-election and replace them.
And Ivar.
But it doesn't need to be in the charter. It's just, if you're trying to kind of fix everything and trying to fix every loophole now, you never get this done. So just keep it as simple as possible in the charter and have a accompanying operations document that you can fix the processes just as you want them.
Ivar, the proxy fix that, and I get what you're saying. But let me ask you a question. How many times have you seen someone that was elected for a committee do or ask the committers for their action, for the vote, or follow a tally that is open in public to say, this vote is coming, please vote, everyone here, if we need this much to vote yes or why. I have yet to see it, and we have been at the Eclipse since we moved MicroProfile in 2017, January, not once. And what I have seen is actually the committers follow and be delusioned because they are not getting their voices out, and they don't want to be that person that is always unhappy or rotting the committer.
But this is a cultural thing that you can, I mean, then you won't elect that rep again, wouldn't you? So it kind of is self-regulating. If you have someone that never votes the way the committer wants, it will self-regulate that person won't be re-elected.
And
So-
also just to add, there are some examples in some other working groups where a committer representative has been trying to get votes from other committers on particular topic, and it was very, very painful. It still is. I'm not saying, so I'm just trying to illustrate it's a cultural thing. It will be up to this community to make sure that that's enforced and people are willing to participate and so on.
Tanya,
Just,
if
So I'm gonna, hold on. So I'm gonna ask, is there anyone, any, I guess, longtime MicroProfile committers, not long time, but I guess existing committers, you know, besides those of us that are kind of speaking on the issue, who feel strongly one way or the other? Like, do you feel like your vote will be devalued if it went through a representative? Or do you really want to be able to directly vote on approving a spec? Now's the time.
I'm not sure if I qualify, but as I said, if it's just for approving a spec, technically, or IP flow, as it was mentioned, I don't care that much because I want to be at the base of the things where features, code, etc. goes into the spec. So I would not mind that very much, but that's my opinion.
So Rudy wants to write code.
Rudy is,
I don't blame him either.
Isn't that the thing,
Yeah.
the gig of any developer?
I mean,
Touche.
really.
Touche.
Yes. I mean, Rudy's statement, I think, is very accurate. I really don't know why we are getting so bent out of shape on this particular item.
I will say it's because of entitlement. I have seen it plenty, to feel that the responsibility lies on someone else, and trust and credibility is lost by each action. And once you notice, you're so deep into shit that you realize that you have lost your voice. So in open source, everyone vote matters. We have the proxy. I say, let's write a comment, say that we want to go with the proxy, decline the deletions. First decline the deletion and say, we will go with the proxy. What do we need to do to make sure that this is maintainable and move forward?
Well, I don't want to, personally, I don't want to write decline yet if not everyone agrees, right?
Right.
I don't even think we have a consensus.
So can we one thing I think is certain is that, you know, when we do vote, I think everybody should be voting, and we should tally all the votes, even if certain of them are binding or not, right? So on the Apache side of the fence, you know, technically when you're doing a release, technically only the people in the PMC have a binding vote, but it is, you know, and that will often be a subset of the committers. So there's a very similar power struggle there that there is here in that regard, that some people have a binding vote and others do not, and they may be a committer and they don't have a binding vote. However, the way the votes are typically run is as if there is no distinction. Everybody votes. Everybody's votes all the votes are tallied, and in that vote, the binding votes, there must be enough binding votes for the vote to pass. But all the votes are, you know, like no one is told don't vote because, you know, you don't have a binding vote. Now, if we did that, maybe it works out. But I would want to see us run it such that everybody should be voting on all the specifications. And it just so happens that some of them are binding and some of them are not. But ideally, people could have some influence on the specification, on these votes as well, especially when it comes to doing things with the charter. Those topics are usually very specific. And yeah, you may have elected somebody 8 months ago, but they may not have the same opinion as you on something that involves a change to the charter. So it is important to get people's perspective.
Yeah, so
that is what we do in the Jakarta as well. It's the text from, I'll paste it in chat. The text from the voting email is that any feedback you can provide is appreciated, but only the representatives will. That's kind of the binding, the same as with the Apache.
Yeah, we just don't say it right out in the front like.
It is in the email, so it's just to read the email.
We could still have a vote, and it could still be public. Yeah. And if the representative goes against the will of the committers, it's public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think the results should be calculated and recorded, right? The community's vote should be recorded.
Of I should be. I have a question about this because I don't remember what do we say about MicroProfile. Yeah. What?
Emily was going to say something. You.
Right.
Sorry, Emily.
Okay, thank you. I will keep it short. Thinking about this is we are the working group, right? We have the full power. Now I don't feel like Eclipse Foundation is controlling us. So the working group is kind of have the full power. Actually, to be honest with you, as a committee on MicroProfile has been for a long time, for me, I really want to get the charter established. And in the past, we don't need to vote like for the releases. We have feedback and etc. I think I agree with Rudy. I don't feel like this is kind of lethal. It's a kind of showstopper if I don't have a vote. I care more. We can move on to get to the code in and produce good content. If we community is elect somebody, if that person doesn't do a good job, if we so many of us in the kind of working group and etc. I think we have every kind of ability to influence that person or not to elect that person anymore. So I just feel kind of we should just move on.
So here's tying into that. So what if we move forward with a recommendation that we have an elected representative? We also have a recorded vote of the community, right? It's not binding like the other votes are, but it's recorded. We do it for whatever period of time, a year, right? We'll have data behind us and we can figure out, is this a problem? Having a representative, is it not a problem? And is it feasible and agile enough to vote before, as a community before finalizing a vote? You know what I mean? I think part of the concern, and this is a question I still have on the screen share, right? I think one of the inferred potential problems is it just going to slow you down and grind things, right? If you have to wait for the community vote to do something, I don't know if we agree with that. I'm just trying to, put something out there. So that's just some thoughts that I have. I don't know if there's reaction to that or any other ideas or thoughts.
I think experimented. And I have a kind of confidence in MicroProfile. And even though some other work group hasn't done this before, if we want to, we can do whatever we feel is right for us. So, yeah.
But Emily and John, you just said that, but we want to go, and we discussed for 45 minutes last week, and the week before that we will want to go to the proxy to protect what we have done in the last 4 years for MicroProfile. Now, because we have been deleted, that all that work and what we wished was happening from the two choices, we will accept what is being handed to us without any concerns. I have concerns, and I am saying, let's send a message and let's protect proxy and move forward. I am actually not okay with strangling the voices of the community. A vote by the charter or by the steering committee will never happen day and night. We will meet once a quarter. If you and I and all of us together cannot get a vote by the committers in 3 months' time, we have a problem. We have always gotten everyone that wants to vote. There has never been a lack. And when there is a lack, then that means that voting was not understood. We're super clear. How can we go backwards and strangle our voices? No, this is, creating the working group was enforced on us, and this enforced on us twice as hard. No, we cannot be, yes, let's do this. We should be saying why, and we want X. X was given to us, we chose X. Every single time I see complacency onto being asked to do something and us agreeing to do something, that means we are losing the battle of keeping open source and MicroProfile history as it has been too. And if I have known we'll be here 4 years ago, since I was the one that signed the contract to move MicroProfile to Eclipse, MicroProfile wouldn't be at Eclipse right now, but we will have our own foundation. So please, I am so imploring everyone here to ask why, to ask what and how. Then let's not be this weak, because we're better than this, and we have proven it to our users, to everyone that contributes, to everyone that comes new. This cannot go on. So can we do better?
Well, let me ask you something then, because I always hear you saying that we're gonna lose voice, that we're not gonna be able to do things like we're doing over the last 4 years. Can you please tell me, or can you please tell us, why do you think that going through how people are suggesting is going to reduce our voice, is going to be bad for MicroProfile in general?
Great question, Roberto. So for the specific, when you vote someone as a committer in a committee, following the rules of the Eclipse Foundation, if no one else come into the play to say, I want to run too, the person, even though the person might be horrible, no one else will vote for it. So that means that the person gets reelected and there is no voting going on. So because we try sometimes and are put into the position to protect safe and instead of face, and instead of doing what is right, that happens a lot because we are nice people, or some of you are nice people in the level of, waiting impatiently, hoping for something good to happen. We will need to use the voting system, or we can use our own system, but we will need people to come up and say, I want to take on this. Do you see what I mean?
Well, do you think if something like that happens, don't you think that the community is dead anyway? Because if you're saying that, hey, no one shows up for voting, or no one shows up to being elected, then someone that's really bad is going to get elected or is going to vote anyway. So, I mean, that just says that the community is not really interested in the project. So maybe you're trying to fix a problem that's not a problem anyway.
Well, so in that regard, my experience is that when the community has the perception that they don't have a voice, as you say, the community's dead anyway. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where that could happen. So that's my concern, right? You want to put yourself in a situation where the community feels like they do have the ability to affect change if they don't like what's happening. And if they don't feel that they have the ability to affect change, if they don't like what's happening, and their only ability is to elect somebody else who has to do all the fighting, it's not really empowered, right? So in a bad situation where where things are not going well, the community needs to have the ability to vote before those bad situations happen, because when those bad situations happen, that is not the time that people go, hey, you know what? Let's make sure the community has a vote. That's usually not the situation. But anyway,
Okay.
on the last that last paragraph, I don't think is related to the one above it.
Okay.
Specification process votes, blah, blah, blah. Basically, that paragraph at the bottom, the last bullet, what we like to say there is it's our desire to follow the Eclipse development process whenever possible, using only this sort of working group vote for limited scenarios. And I think that that's still valid regardless of if we have a committee representative or not, how they're elected, if they're elected or chosen, how their votes cast. All that's orthogonal to the concept that we want to run using the Eclipse development process as much as possible and only use the working group vote concept in limited situations.
So we got 5 minutes left. So I got your point. And if you want to, oh yeah, that's right, you can't. You could always reply in a comment, David, on that thread. One option here is to do a straw poll, which would be a non-binding poll. I have Zoom up, and you could do a quick poll. And we could just say option A or B, straw poll. What are your thoughts, proxy or representative? Right? Does that sound like something we could do in 4 minutes?
Yeah, I think so.
For the people? It's a straw poll, right? It's not binding. All right.
And I think before we cast that vote, it should be orthogonal to the concept of I want to get the working group started sooner. Because once the working group is started, as I mentioned, we could work on it.
The thing is, if we go to the poll already said a proxy vote is not accepted. So how can we establish that charter?
Like I said, there may be limitations there, but when we had some limitations in the Jakarta side of the fence, for example, having people participate for no cost, we fixed the issues. It wasn't instant. It took a month. It took about a month and a half.
It took 2 years.
No, stop. Once we noticed the issue, it took about a month and a half for us to fix it, and it was work, and it did cost money from our budget, and we would not have been able to do that work without a working group. So whatever's written there as a limitation, we should treat as, okay, if we want to do something differently, it is possible for us to address the topic in some way after the working group is established. So the concept of proxy, or they vote themselves, proxy or not, that's not connected to getting the working group started. We could address it after the working group is started. You know what I'm saying? So we're not voting for starting the working group quickly. That's not what you're voting for. It's what would we want in the most ideal situation.
Right. Can I suggest add 3? One is the kind of proxy, one is the kind of election. The third one is either. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, I've never done this before. Hopefully this is anonymous.
I
think it is.
It worked.
So if you could just do a vote here, talk about doing it on the fly.
It's perfect. I voted, and everyone knows I voted proxy. I'm super blunt on that.
So John, so you and I as hosts, we can't vote.
I noticed that. I'm looking for the button.
Transfer, John, transfer the vote. Transfer the.
Nah, don't worry about it. I mean, I don't worry about it. I might be actually in the no opinion at this point. I just want to move forward. To be honest.
Right. Again, though, you vote on our ability to move forward, because if you vote on this will move you forward. Everyone's going to vote for what moving us forward. And I think that's great. But once we get the working group established, the question should be, how do we want to operate? And if we stretch the boundaries of whatever is currently defined, that's okay. Other working groups do that too.
Yeah, and this
but-
is interesting because, I'm sorry, go ahead, Rudy.
No, but okay, the ideal world is, as you said, maybe we can achieve it after the working group is established, but that doesn't mean that we have to lose a lot of time of discussion, drafting up the charter with possible things which are not allowed. So anyway, that's my idea.
Yeah, I agree. If we decide that's something we want to address once we get started, I think that that's positive.
All right, so we're like, this poll is nuts.
Yep.
5, 5, and 5, right? It's like, okay, we are at the top of the hour here. I think, you know, I'll be honest, I'm not quite sure how to move forward with this split, this tight a split. And
What is the
we
vote?
could,
You're not sharing
well,
it.
oh, I'm not?
You're
oh,
sharing the
okay.
minutes. You're sharing the minutes, but you're not showing us the
Oh, I have to hit end poll maybe.
yeah.
Okay,
Hmm.
there we go. Clear as mud.
I don't see it. We
You
don't,
don't
see
see it yet? Oh, share results.
There.
You see it?
Yep.
Yeah, clear as mud. Sorry, this is my
There
first
you
time
go.
using this.
This is great. Proxy, representative, and no opinion. And the no opinion is we are so exhausted. It has been almost 9 months working on this. Can we get over this?
It's been longer than that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just, you know, it's just too exhausting. And we need to be kinder to ourselves. So to everyone that continues to attend these calls that are exhausting, you know, I'm there with you. Thank you, because it's super exhausting. If we have not said we will be this tired, now we know. Now we know.
Is this the only blocker?
No,
No.
there's one
No.
other.
Can we discuss it? Can we take 10 minutes, discuss it, because it's budget.
Over, but
You guys can continue. I have to drop.
So is it the prorating? Is that the right
Right.
word I used? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so Kevin, go ahead. I'm going to give this just another couple of minutes just to make sure that people understand what, at least what we think, or I think the other outstanding issue is. That's the meeting minutes. That's the wrong one. Oh, here we go. That is, right now, the way Sharon's defined this is that we would start the clock on the budget when we form the working group, meaning that you would pay the full amount that would last a year from when the working group is formed, right? It is not, there's not a requirement for a year boundary. So there would be no prorating between now and the end of the calendar year, right? The way she described it, unless, but there are exceptions, right? And I think we could always state there's an exception that, A, we've been kind of selling this internally as being prorated, and B, budgets are frozen for a lot of organizations this year. So I think we could make that discussion, but I thought I would just bring this up as the other thing that we might ask for, you know, an exception on.
if we can flex on the prorating and allow the prorating so the people who have budget restrictions this year are unable to move forward, then I would say let's shelve the representative conversation until we get the working group started and revisit that and just go ahead.
So a quick question about prorating. What does the Eclipse Foundation do with fees? Is it a rolling 12 months or is it per calendar year?
It is so that is, I think, that came up somewhere, and I apologize. It's either here or in the other, or in the Google Group thread. But basically, there is no tight alignment between the working group schedule and the Eclipse Foundation's fiscal year, right? So that means, from what Sharon described, if we started it today, then we would collect fees and we would apply it towards whatever we need to apply it for. Part of it would be legal, The form of the working group, part of it would probably be marketing. You know, maybe our own Zoom account, I don't know, right? Whatever we wanted to do. So there's no tight alignment, if that answers the question.
Okay, so fees are not, with the MPWG, the fees would not be prorated?
We want them prorated. We have been working under the assumption that we will close 2020 events. If we start the working group in October, close it on December 31st. And then in the budget that I have drafted that needs to be worked out, I wrote MicroProfile working group starts with fiscal year January 1st to December 31st, so that any member that joins can prorate and always know the 2 dates, and it can only pay that year, and it will not be aligned to their membership with the Eclipse Foundation, because that is totally under the control, right? It starts the year when they start, and the money goes to the Eclipse Foundation. For MicroProfile, because we control the budget, it is our choice to decide how we want to get the money with. That means, though we are required to use the Eclipse accounting method, that means that maybe a member wants to pay in 4 parts a year, because we might pay 25,000 might be too much. I imagine it can do that. And then we allocate the 15% to the Eclipse Foundation for the tax or maintenance fee, so they can have it. It is our prerogative to make sure that the Eclipse Foundation fixed fees are paid, and then we protect our members. Do you see? This is why the define and approve for the budget is onto the MicroProfile working group, so that we are as flexible as possible with everyone that chooses to join.
I get all that. The only reason I ask, and I understand that the Eclipse Foundation fees are decoupled, but in a sense they're not, because an entity has to be a member of the Eclipse Foundation to join the working group. So
yes.
That's why my question came, because for example, if an entity joined the Eclipse Foundation and the working group in November of this year, yet the Eclipse accounting goes December to December, if the fees are not prorated for the Eclipse Foundation, they may have to pay full membership for 1 month of 2020 before they end up paying full membership for 12 months of 2021.
Yeah, our experience is that the Eclipse membership fees are prorated in our experience. They were for us. The working group fees is a separate thing, so, you know, it sounds like there is some flexibility on. It sounds like there is a preference for it to be 1 full year from the moment the working group starts, but we will ask if they can be prorated. On the Eclipse membership side of the fence, I'm not obviously the one to give the authoritative statement, but our fees were prorated when we joined.
Sure. Okay, I don't think anyone's going to have an issue with whether the fees for joining the working group are either prorated or they are 12-month rolling.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously having 12-month rolling fees is more admin, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah. Great
All right,
question.
so I'm going to pause. I apologize here. I think I'm going to try and pause this here. We've already gone 7 minutes over, and I don't see an end in sight.
Yeah. Can I put one potential solution? So
Okay.
let's just say that the calendar date, let's say that the working group fees are 12 months starting October 1st. For those of us who are able to pay that now, we could pay it. And those who need prorating could potentially pay up till December 31st. And then next year, pay the rest. If Eclipse Foundation could do that at least, that would be optimal.
So it'd be hybrid.
Would be
That's
a high.
What you're saying.
We would probably not pay the prorated amount. We'd probably just pay the full amount because it's not too much different. And maybe the other people joining, like AJUG or others, would probably just pay the amount. And those of us that need the prorating because they're looking for budget approvals next year.
Yeah, I just think it needs to. I don't think it matters what it is. I just think it needs to be made clear for any organization that's considering joining the Eclipse and this working group. So.
All right. With that, I am going to call a close. Sorry, as as the moderator close. It was a tough meeting.
Oh,
And
not
we'll
hard.
have. Well, I don't mean tough in terms of, personalities or arguments. It's a topic that we haven't resolved, and we're going to have to figure out how to resolve it.
Yes,
So let's take this
together.
to the Google group, and online, and see if we can continue the conversation there. I think what I'm going to do is reply to the thread about payments and see if we can ask for an exception using either prorated or hybrid.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and John,
So-
if you want to follow up, can you forward my 2 questions? I know it's 15% for working groups, but every working group, the working groups have 4 layers of fees, and I want that confirmed. Paul has not, he replied to everyone, but my thread, either because my thread is too hard or it's not as important as the other ones. But this is about budget, and this is about fixed fees that we must take
Okay,
care of.
I'll look into it.
Thank you so much.
I'll look. If I have any questions, we'll just talk about it offline. All right. I appreciate everyone. So we'll see you hopefully next week. Same bat time, same bat channel for the regular MicroProfile Live Hangout.
Hi, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.